Hello all my Kenvians and welcome to a very special, probably extremely unexpected, brand new episode of Discovering with Papa Ken. And you already know from the title, this is Discovering DuckTales. And I'm trying to figure out my lighting here. Yes, I'm going to be watching the new DuckTales that came out in 2017, I believe, with frigging David Tennant as Scrooge McDuck, Danny Pudi as Huey, Ben Schwartz as Dewey, and I actually don't know who this one is, Bobby Monahan as Louie Duck. Ben Schwartz being John Ralphio from Parks and Rec. He's the West. I actually don't know. Wait, that's his sister. Danny Pudi, a.k.a. Oh no, I'm forgetting his name, but he's on Community, which was an amazing show that I should really do a revisiting on. And then Danny Monahan, I feel bad. I'm not sure what he's from, but still, holy crap. I have been looking forward to starting this show, to giving it a watch, and I was not reluctant, but I was a little bit apprehensive just because of the fact that it's a reboot of a classic from my childhood. Like, I grew up watching the original DuckTales episodes, the original DuckTales movie, I guess, technically. Like, the first 2 or 3 episodes combined into one was like a movie, I guess. So yeah, I for a long time, I didn't know what to think about this. I didn't know, should I start it? Should I give it a try? I mean, obviously I should, but I wasn't sure if I should dedicate some videos to it. Well, guess what? It's kind of obvious at this point. I'm gonna. So, let's begin with what seems to be a 2-part, or at least it's twice as long as most of the other episodes in this season. The 2-part beginning episode. Woo! And let's get going. In 3, 2, 1, go.
But it's a big day.
Did his shirt just attack him?
Breakfast. Hours.
Where's the third? Oh.
Dewey? We'll get the Cape Suzette and back before the bajillionaire. You're finally gonna sell us. Just a nut jalopy from my driveway. This instant your tax me.
Well.
I am the richest duck in the world. Huey, Louie, the third one. Please do. Let's go touch some expensive stuff. Dewey! Sent you, my beagle, long gold. Answer me.
Webby?
Uncle Scrooge! We present a pathway to Atlantis, Lost City under the sea.
So Scrooge McDuck is the doctor now, basically?
Nonsense. We've got this. There are 4 of us and 3 of them. If we... Wait, never mind, they teamed up. That means only... There's your head. I should have been more specific!
Freak, thank you.
You need to swing him out. Nose dive towards the bin and get ready to pull up.
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
Oh. Ew. I feel kind of bad for it. I mean, not really, but kind of.
Just me killed some eye trouble.
The doctor.
Oh,
They are his companions.
on you to teach you how to Atlantis.
They made him large. They made him very large.
Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Race cars, lazy
Okay, that was cool.
You've got a pretty low-key day planned. Hoist the mainsail! Other boat words to Atlantis! Dive! Dive! Wait! What can I be in charge of? The bazaars? No! Sonic cannons? No! Hyperdense zero-point energy missiles to pierce the scaly hide of a kraken? None of those things are real things. Expeditions,
Well, he's less smart now than he was back in the day.
Good. Atlantis. Ooh. I'll spoil in a moment. Thinks he's so rich and so Scottish. When I'm wearing a kilt, McDuck, a kilt!
Oh my god. This competition for being most Scottish.
I thought the traps would get. It's not safe for amateur adventurers. That sounds like
Dewey.
a challenge. I have to stress that is not a challenge.
Dewey.
Exactly what you say to dissuade the weak of heart from accepting the challenge.
Dewey.
Challenge accepted. There is no challenge.
Oh no. Yes, kill the kids
Stop the water.
and the clearly dying pilot.
Well, yeah, that's kind of all you can do. This is a surprisingly insightful death trap.
For real.
Mr. Duck, could we maybe bum a ride with you?
Aw. Okay, that was adorable.
Pride that I, Linthart Glumgold, present the Jewel of Atlantis. What?
Scrooge McDuck? Mr. Duck?
What?
Sometimes, like birthdays or federal holidays, nothing to.
Oh.
Ooh, I may have left the engine running in the houseboat.
Who dat?
Mom?
What? Wait. No, don't start the next episode yet. No. No. Stop. Stop. Stop it. Stop it now. So I'm pretty sure the last one there was Dewey. And I swear that Dewey is voiced by oh dang it, I gotta reopen that so I can check the cast. Let's see, cast. Okay, yeah, it is Ben Schwartz who voices Dewey Duck. Okay, so if you've ever watched Parks and Rec, there's this line by John Ralphio, and it's like this. He's talking about this party, and I am very much misquoting, but totally paraphrasing, except for the very last part. What was it? Dancing, drinking, girls, guys everywhere. Mom? And it's just, Mom? Okay, before I even get into this, I love this show. Oh my god, this is amazing. Kate, I do not know how to say her last name. Mikuchi? Sure, but yes, I know who she is. Okay, she is the voice of Webby. Totally get it now. Let's see who some of these other people were. Mrs. Beakley. Oh my god, hello, lady that plays Mrs. Beakley. Talks Olagundoy? Olagundoy? Don't know how to pronounce that either. But good god. Hi. She's pretty. And then Tony Anselmo voicing Donald Duck. I can only assume he's the actual, like, official voice of Donald Duck these days. Oh, wait a second. Keith Ferguson voicing... Flintheart, Glomgold, Peghook, and a fisherman. Oh, alright. So, he's the voice of Flint... No! Accidentally closed it. Oh, well. Okay, still though. I'm sorry, I'm just kind of a mess right now because I'm just simply blown away by how much I loved this. Good God. So, the new DuckTales, based on this first, double-length episode, is amazing. Woo! Before I get into the parts I love, I will say there were two things that were annoyances for me. But they aren't so much anymore because I got used to them. But the two annoyances. First was Launchpad's voice. And it wasn't even a major annoyance. It's just, it sounded, and still does to a degree, sounded a bit too meatheadish. Like he's just dumber than Launchpad usually was. Like he was dumb, but not quite to this degree. I could be remembering incorrectly. I mean, he may have been just as dumb as he's being portrayed here. But yeah, it took a little bit of getting used to, but I do very much like Launchpad now. And this is another one, it feels weird because of the fact that Mrs. Beakley was an older woman. I'm guessing she's Webigail's granny. But she doesn't really have the voice of someone old enough to be a granny, if that makes sense. So yeah, looking at the woman who voices Mrs. Beakley now, oh good God. But yeah, it's just the voice for me doesn't match who she's supposed to be. An older woman, Webigail's granny. It's like the voice back in the original series fit her more, in my opinion. But that's a voice that I'm still not totally used to. But as the show goes on, I will no doubt grow used to it and will very much come to enjoy her. But yeah, it's a strange choice in my opinion that they made Mrs. Beakley sound, at least in my opinion, so young when she is Webigail's granny. But that's it for the annoyances. Not sure why I did that. Let's get into my favorite parts of this episode, and I had to filter this down, because there's a lot of good. So first of all, Donald Duck. Now, Donald Duck did appear in the original show's original episodes. It may have even been just the first episode, and then a few others here or there. But this episode, unless I'm mistaken, it's basically established that Donald Duck he's going to be a part of DuckTales now. Like, it's not just a focus on primarily Scrooge, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, who I still have issues with, figuring out who is who. But Donald Duck's going to be there. Webby, as far as I can tell, she's not just going to be like an occasional person who's there. It's like she's going to be a part of the show. As far as Launchpad and Mrs. Beakley go, they might be there. I don't know. I'll have to watch more, but they might be more of the secondary there sometimes characters. But yeah, just the simple fact that Donald Duck is actually a part of this show, it honestly kind of blows my mind. I really like that, and this glare is not being fixed by that. So let's try this one. That makes it a little bit better. Let's turn this off. Now it's too dark. Daggone it. Turn on. Okay, that's better. I'm sorry. Oh, I am very hyper right now, and it's very late. But Donald Duck, everything about him in this episode, it's like they get his personality perfect. Just the flying off the wire, like that Donald Duck rage. They captured it perfectly in several points of this episode. It's just so well done. And something as simple It's perfect physical comedy with Donald trying to get that stupid stapler to work, and then just the fit of rage he flies into when it doesn't work, but it finally does on his shirt. Just the rest of that. Oh, God. Yeah, just Donald Duck is phenomenal in this. I love, love, love how they portray him with the kids. Like, he is their guardian. He cares about them. He wants them to be safe. He is very much overprotective. And I don't remember seeing in any of the cartoons him really being like that in the past, but I do know that apparently in the comic book series, not for DuckTales necessarily, but like with Donald Duck and Huey, Dewey, and Louie, he was very protective. He would he would put himself in the way of danger, do whatever he needed to in order to make sure those boys were safe. So I really like that they took that more defined comic persona or comic book persona of Donald Duck with them and put it here because it works so well. Donald Duck is like, you believe him to be their guardian. You believe him to be like a father, well, not just a father figure, but I mean, apparently the mom was there at some point. I don't know what happened to her. She may be dead. I have no clue. But at this point, it's like, he is playing the role or trying to play the roles of both father and mother for these boys. And that's a lot to throw on an uncle. At least, in my mind, that's true. But also, it's like, it's clearly very overwhelming for Donald Duck. And I love the way he's being portrayed here, and I am so excited that there's going to be more of him in this series. Again, especially if he's actually going to be not just a regular, but part of the main cast. But, moving on from there, Scrooge McDuck. Now, I didn't write the voice down in one of my annoyances because I knew it was David Tennant. I know what David Tennant sounds like, and that was one of my only irks initially, that because I know what David Tennant sounds like, every time he talked, it was just David Tennant to me. It wasn't Scrooge McDuck at first, it was David Tennant. It got to the point where even in the reaction there, I was like, basically Scrooge McDuck seems like the Doctor as a duck at this point in my eyes. But the voice really works. David Tennant does an excellent job, and it's not his fault that it was, for me initially, hard to see past his voice and, fully accept him as Scrooge McDuck. Again, as the episode went on, very much so, completely accept him, and I don't have that weird disconnect where I only see David Tennant as David Tennant at this point, but he does feel like the proper voice for Scrooge McDuck. Completely different, well, not completely, but very much different from the original Scrooge McDuck in the cartoons, but he really does a good job, and like I got over that weird disconnect fairly quickly. So again, that's one of the reasons why I didn't write it down as an annoyance, because that was all on me. That was all on me. It wasn't like a questionable casting choice in my opinion, or something just felt off. It was just me not being able to see past that voice being connected to the 10th Doctor and the other various roles that David Tennant has played. So yeah, just Scrooge McDuck, David Tennant, love it. I love the fact that back in the original series, it seemed like with Scrooge McDuck, he was rich, he was super rich, and then the adventures just kind of happened. It's like he wasn't like a huge adventurer. Like, he did get super rich, he was primarily a businessman, but he didn't go out seeking adventure. He wasn't known as this great adventurer who found all these treasures. But they establish him as that in this series, and it does take a little bit of getting used to, for me again, with my nostalgia, but I do like the direction they're going with that, because at least in this episode, I don't know if it's a theme that will continue going forward, but it's this sort of, not only are the boys getting to know their uncle and, or their great uncle, and Donald Duck and Scrooge sort of, coming to terms, mending whatever happened with them. But it's also kind of his story of coming back into relevance, into getting out of this boring, dull life of, yes, he's rich, but, it seemed like he left his adventuring behind until now. So I really like that. I'm really enjoying this portrayal of Scrooge McDuck so far. Moving on to next, Webbigail, aka Webby. So different from her original incarnation. Now, there's a lot of people who kind of hate on Webbigail in the original series, like, saying she's annoying and just whines a lot. It's like, it just felt like she was shoehorned in, like didn't really belong there. I disagree with the shoehorning. She could admittedly be annoying at times. I hate to say that, but it is true, or at least it feels that way for me. In this case, though, holy crap. Like, she's not just some little kid who whines and has an annoyingly high-pitched voice. Like, she's a fleshed-out character. She is a girl who, yes, has been sheltered, but she has been trained in martial arts. She beat the crap out of, was it the Blade Lady who she beat up? And some of the others too. It's like, she can take care of herself. It's not like she's going to be a damsel in distress at some point. Well, I don't know. They may go that direction. But if she ever is a damsel in distress, she won't be going down easily. Like, she can and will kick butt. And I love that. I absolutely love that. So yeah, just Webbigail in general, just an awesome character in this. Moving on from there. When they went to what we found out was the garage, but was initially thought of as the Museum of Mysteries, just everything they unlocked, like, I was not expecting it to get quite so chaotic so quickly. But yeah, they unleashed a ghost. They unleashed the headless horse, which apparently can talk through tapping and saying thank you for giving me a head. The sword, I forget what it was called, Excalibur something, that never rests until its target is vanquished or slain, whatever. And then they unleashed the gold-seeking dragon, which, I mean, well, let's face it, was sort of a Chinese dragon-esque version of Smaug, because it goes for the gold. Are all dragons supposed to be like that? I don't know. Anyway, regardless. Again, did not expect it to get quite so chaotic that quickly. But it was so well done, and I really enjoyed it. God, just everything about this long episode was great. Okay, then moving on from there. At the end of the first half, we're introduced to Glomgold, Flintheart Glomgold, who, style-wise, he's kind of, if you took Flintheart from the original series and combined him with the body structure of Cartman from South Park. And I mean, I can't help but feel like it's rather appropriate. I mean, he doesn't have the foul mouth of Cartman, but good God, it fits perfectly in my mind. And it's just such a... other than that, I feel like they stayed rather true to Flintheart. Like, Flintheart would do whatever he could to get one up on Scrooge, pretty much always failing, or being tricked, or when he thinks he's won, he actually hasn't. So in that regard, they stayed true to Flintheart. I did find it rather interesting that apparently between Flintheart and Scrooge, or at least in Flintheart's mind, there's this competition for one being more Scottish than the other because he's wearing a kilt. And then they even called back to that at the end with the news reporter. It's like, what would you say about other Scottish billionaires? This is so weird. But yeah, Flintheart Glomgold, I don't know how frequently he will be, a villain in the show. He popped up every now and then. They had a pretty good rogues gallery in the original series. I feel like the Beagle Boys were probably the most common foe that popped up. Yeah, I think that's right. But yeah, I'm not sure how common it will be for Flintheart to pop in, but I am looking forward to seeing more appearances from him whenever he manages to escape from the Kraken, since he has the cursed fake Jewel of Atlantis. Oh my god, and honest to God, if they call back, if they have continuity in these episodes throughout the season, if they go that extra mile and they actually have continuity to where if something happens to a villain, it's brought up in a future episode, like when, I don't know if they'll actually call it the Kraken, but, Flintheart escaping from the giant octopus, or the giant squid, whatever it's supposed to be. And even, like, the team that Flintheart hired, I don't know if they'll be friends with Donald and the others from now on since they saved them or what. But if they go the extra mile and keep continuity there to where these relationships are developed with these different characters in the show, I really hope. I'm not going to keep my hopes up too high because it's a cartoon show and it's primarily aimed at kids, but there are so many that are really good at continuity that I will keep a spark of hope alive that they might use continuity like that to have these in-jokes and just these great things that they can possibly do in the future. So fingers crossed in that regard. Moving on from Glomgold and really bringing us to the second half of Atlantis and really everything that had to do with Atlantis. Now, the second half of it was admittedly slower paced. For the most part, in the beginning. It was slower paced because there was no longer really that issue of, will Scrooge accept the boys or not? Or, well, the kids or not, because Webby was part of them. There was the whole traveling to Atlantis deal, and, it was cute. It was a bit of filler with Dewey messing with the map and making them go through the dangerous sections. Even though it did feel like just a bit of filler in that regard, it did establish this idea that apparently Dewey is going to be the major troublemaker of the three. He's going to be the one that is the most outgoing and trying to kind of keep up in the footsteps of Scrooge. Maybe the other boys will as well, but at least in this episode it was clear that Dewey is the one who is the most outgoing, not trying to get into trouble, but the most likely to get into trouble. But yeah, and just when they get to Atlantis, all the traps, everything about it was just really cool and really well done, especially when it came to Donald Duck having to save Dewey from dying because, oh my god, the entire bridge walking thing, I was picturing in my head John Ralphio doing this bull. John Ralphio being an idiot and walking across this bridge and going through all of these lasers, not actually seeming to try to avoid them, and then someone having to try and save John Ralphio from dying. Probably would have been Tom or someone, I don't know, some unfortunate soul who actually cares enough about John Ralphio in order to save him. Luckily for Dewey, he's not John Ralphio. He's just voiced by the guy who plays him. Oh my god. But yeah, Atlantis as a whole was really cool. But again, it was more slow-paced for the most part, so really I feel like I just kind of group everything that happened there into one. But there were two things especially that stood out to me in that portion of the episode. One being one of the first death traps when the snake pit opened and it fell on Launchpad. And, I mean, he may be dumb, but apparently Launchpad is very resilient because he clearly took multiple venomous snake bites. And while delirious and dying, he could still function to a degree. And apparently he can even speak Swedish when poisoned, which is weird. But yeah, that was awesome. And then one of my final favorite parts of this entire episode was the surprisingly insightful death trap. And I really like the way they did it, and if they are able to do it properly, if they continue to do stuff like this throughout the rest of the season, I can see it being a very cool theme that they go with as far as this new series as a whole. And that is not necessarily, there always being a surprisingly insightful death trap, but there being this sort of moral feeling to the episode, or you get the warm snugglies in your heart. I'm going to put it that way, the warm snugglies. Because you're seeing the family evolve. You're seeing the family coming together more. They're learning more about each other. You get these insights into their relationships. And I hope beyond hope that is something that they're able to maintain to a degree. Not every episode has to be like that. Not every episode will have to have, this big insightful moment where you learn more about the family at large. No, it doesn't have to be all of them. I do, however, hope that it is a theme that they maintain throughout several points through this season, because I feel like if they don't, they'll be missing a huge opportunity. And of course, this entire first season is over at this point, so I guess I get to find out. And then finally, my last favorite part of this episode was that final line when Dewey, lifted what looked like a torn part of the picture, but it was actually just sort of like flapped down. But he pushes it up, and it's their mom? Like, to the best of my knowledge, in the cartoons, mom and dad for the boys, I mean, they may have been mentioned, but we never actually saw them, or never saw an image of them. In the comics, that may be a different story. I don't know how far that goes, but I am supremely interested to find out what's going to happen there. I mean, maybe it's something that they visit in the next episode, or rather the second episode of the season. But I'm really intrigued to find out more and to learn more about the story, which I guess will now be the new canon as far as DuckTales goes. I'm really happy. I am so happy I watched this. I am so elated and excited to get further into this show, alongside discovering Once Upon a Time and discovering classic Doctor Who, which, yes, will be happening more of. I am so happy that I did this show. Oh, and before I forget, there were actually a couple of quotes that were amazing. First of all, when Scrooge McDuck is brought up and Donald tells the boys that he's taking them to Scrooge McDuck, he said, I think it might have been Louie, said, you're finally going to sell us? It was just a perfect line. And then finally when this, I can't remember, it may have been Huey was talking to Webby, one of the boys. I'm sorry, I am horrible with keeping them one from the other. But lying, it's the responsible thing to do. There were so many amazing lines, and I wanted to write them down, but I was just so transfixed so much of the time, or laughing, a lot of it too, that it was so hard to write any down. But yeah, there were so many great lines in this episode. And as far as a track of the episode, at this point I feel like it's going to be consistent through all of them. That theme. Now for me, the original classic DuckTales theme from the cartoon will always be my favorite. It is an amazing theme, and it's just so well done. However, this new version for the new show, they did a really good job. They kept it similar enough, but they changed just a few little things with the lyrics, and the singer does a great job as well, and it really matches the whole vibe of this new show. From what I can tell so far, based on this first episode, it feels right, and it's so good. So yeah, it's no mystery at this point. I love this first episode. I have no hesitation getting into more episodes. I have no hesitation, if not for the fact that I want to do these videos now, I would have no hesitation in just binging this entire season just to watch it. But no, I want to watch it. I want to do it properly for a Discovering series, and that's what's going to happen. So yeah. Oh, everyone, thank you so much for being here for this episode of Discovering DuckTales. Can't actually believe I'm saying that, but yes, it is true. And I'm bringing up my monitor back here real quick so I can check and see what the name of the next episode is going to be. So let's get that brought up real quick. Let's see. So next time on Discovering DuckTales, we will be watching Day Trip of Doom. It actually kind of sounds like what almost just happened with Atlantis, but I'm sure there's going to be a lot of Doom-ish day trips for the boys and Webby. I gotta just start calling them the kids. But anyway, everyone, please leave your thoughts in the comments down below. Let me know what you think of this show as a whole, if you've already watched it, or if you're just starting it like me. Let me know your thoughts in general. Keep it to this episode. Let's avoid any spoilers for me, because, you know, I'm really excited to find out what all is going to be happen as we move forward with this show. But yeah, I'll shut up now. Until next time, everyone, for Day Trip of Doom, I am Papa Ken. Ooh, bum.